Hello guys and gals, this is Patrick from Aquatic Delights, and today I want to talk about fish cycling basics because I've noticed that a lot of people don't really know how to cycle a fish tank or have been told some common misconceptions. Well, what exactly is this fish cycle and what does it have to do with your fish tank? Well, when someone's talking about the fish cycle, they're usually referring to three different things: your ammonia levels, your nitrite levels, and your nitrate levels. So before I continue, I just want to go over some common misconceptions you might have heard from other people or maybe even some pet associates themselves. So I hear this a lot, that people assume that if you leave your aquarium running for a week, that your tank is cycled and you can add fish. Well, this isn't the case, and there's many reasons why this isn't the case. Number one, usually a fish tank takes longer than a week to cycle. There are some cheats and ways you can speed up this process, and I'll go over that later towards the end of the video. But more importantly, if you don't add a source of ammonia to your tank to start the cycle, nothing's going to happen if you just wait. You can wait as long as you want, but you still need to have some type of ammonia source for it to begin. If you don't, nothing's going to happen. Another misconception that I hear is that don't do water changes while your aquarium is cycling. Many people think that the beneficial bacteria that help with this process of breaking down the ammonia into nitrites and then into nitrates are floating in your water. While there might be some floating in your water, the vast majority are either in your filter bed, on the surface of your decorations, or on the tank's walls and substrates. They are holding on to stuff. They're not just free floating. So water changes are fine. You just don't want to disturb the media bed too much and other areas, and you're good to go. While there are bacteria supplements that will help cycle your tank, they're usually, you'll see these little cans that say instantly cycle your tank with this little startup bacteria. I'm a little hesitant on these products. I'm not saying that they won't help you speed up the processes of cycling your tank. I just don't think that they will instantly cycle your tank perfectly, just because a lot of the time the cheaper supplements are just sugar water, which is the reason why this works is because the bacteria can feed off the sugar, and that kind of speeds up the process of cycling your tank because the bacteria grow faster. The other type are actual bacteria. They'll actually use bacteria that will help start the cycle, and these supplements, I believe, need to be refrigerated because otherwise they, I think, probably die not refrigerated. But again, you don't need this stuff. You can just do it the normal route. You don't need to spend your money. But if you want to, you can look into these products. I personally haven't used these products, and I've been fine. Alright, so let's begin. So the first step in our cycle is ammonia. And so like I was saying earlier, ammonia is very toxic to your fish, even in small amounts. And all living creatures give off waste product, which is in this case fish poop. And this is the ammonia that's giving off. As this breaks down, it becomes ammonia, and then so it's very toxic. How do we test for this? You need testing kits, and there's different types of testing kits, and I'll kind of explain that in a little bit down the line. And so how do we get rid of this? Well, there's bacteria that will slowly grow in your tank and will break down this ammonia. And so that's what the cycling process is. It's when this bacteria colonies begin to grow and break down this ammonia. And you'll see later on it breaks down into nitrites. And so here we go. This is the middle leg of the cycling process. So that bacteria that feeds on this ammonia turns that ammonia into nitrites. Again, nitrites are toxic to your fish. So ammonia and nitrites, they're both very toxic, even in small amounts. So you really don't want to have any in your fish tank. And so this is why the fish cycling is very important. And so how do we test for this? Again, testing kits. And how to get rid of it? Good bacteria. And so as your tank becomes cycled or seasoned over time, a new type of bacteria will start to break down these nitrites into nitrates. And so this is the whole step. This is why it takes a long time. You have different colonies of bacteria growing in your tank, breaking down the ammonia into nitrite, and then your nitrite into nitrates. And then finally, the last step, we get some nitrates. While nitrates are toxic to your fish, they usually are okay until they get to the higher levels. And again, how do you test for this? You have a testing kit. And how do we get rid of this? Well, this is your water changes. This is why water changes are so important. This is our step. So we need to perform these water changes to get rid of these nitrates, and so that our fish can be happy. And this is pretty much the whole cycle. And so I'm going to explain a little more and go into more detail, but that's just the cycle in a nutshell. All right, so here's a little diagram. So we have the food coming in, the fish eat the food, they release the food waste, it becomes ammonia. That ammonia gets broken down by a certain type of bacteria. That bacteria colony makes the nitrates, and then from there, over time, those nitrates get eaten up by another type of bacteria colony, and that bacteria colony produces nitrates, and then the nitrates get either broken up from live plants or our water changes. So that's the cycle. And this takes a little bit of time to actually start to work in your fish tank. So that's why you need to be really patient. And there's two different types of cycling processes that we can use, and I'm going to explain that next. So the first type is the fishless cycling, and this usually is the preferred method. There's the other type where you can use hardy fish to cycle your aquarium, but you could also use the fishless cycle, and I'm going to go over a checklist really fast. You're going to need water dechlorinator. Why, might you ask? Well, just like your fish, your bacteria will also be harmed by the chlorine and chloramines in your tap water, and so you're going to need some type of water dechlorinator. It doesn't really matter which one you get as long as you follow directions. Me personally, I use Prime. A lot of people use Prime. I use it. I haven't had any issues with it. I like it. I'll put a link down below if you need to see what I'm talking about when I say water dechlorinator. Alright, so next you're going to need a testing kit. You're going to need to test your water to see where your ammonia levels are, right? And so there's two different types of testing kits usually. You have the liquid form and the stripped form. The liquid form is more accurate, it's called the master testing kit. You can find it's a little pricey, but it's more accurate than the stripped form. Personally, I use both. When I'm lazy, I use the strips, and when I want to be more thorough, I'll use the liquid form testing kit. But think of it this way. I mean, if you think you're gonna be lazy, you might as well just use the strips just to get some indication of where you are. Because if you're not even gonna bother using the liquid form, I mean, at least the strips will get you in some general idea on where your levels are, right? And I'll put a link down below to show you the strips versus the master testing kit. Again, it doesn't really matter. If you feel like you're going to be lazy, go for the strips. If you want to be more thorough, go for the liquid form, okay? So third, you're going to need your ammonia source. So you're going to need something to feed your bacteria, right? So whether it be pure ammonia, which you can find probably at hardware stores, I would imagine, or fish food that will kind of break down and feed your bacteria, right? So you're going to need some type of food source for your bacteria. And last, you're going to need some patience, okay, guys? This is going to take a while. Nobody likes this process. Everyone wants their fish right away. They want their tank set up right away, but that's not how this works. If you want to do it correctly, you're going to need to wait. Alright guys, so this is Prime. This is the water dechlorinator that I personally use. Again, just use whatever you want. As long as it's some type of dechlorinator, it'll work fine. And this is the master testing kit I was talking about. This is the liquid form. This isn't the strips. This has some getting used to, and you're going to need to follow directions, and it's a little tricky compared to the strips. With the strips, all you need to do is dip them into the tank water and then just wait. So again, it's up to you, whatever you feel like doing. Alright guys, so this is the tricky part. This is where you're going to feed your tank your ammonia source, whether it be pure ammonia or fish flakes or fish food, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And so the reason why it's tricky is I can't give you an exact measurement since everybody's fish tank is going to be a different size. But if you're going to go the pure ammonia route, what you want to have is when you're testing, you're going to want to have your ammonia level at 4 ppm. And so when you test it, the indicator will say your ammonia levels is at 4 ppm. With the fish flake, you're just going to have to play it by eye and then just kind of feed it like daily and see what's happening. And so what's going to happen is as you test, whether you test daily or twice a week or weekly, it doesn't really matter, is your ammonia level is going to creep up really rapidly, and then it's going to plateau, and then it's going to start to dip down. As it dips down, your nitrites should start to rise, and then it too will start to plateau and dip down, and that's when your nitrates will rise and overtake the two. And at the end of the cycle, so how do you know when the cycle is done? Is when there's 0 ammonia, 0 nitrites, and some nitrates. And then that's when you know your cycle is complete. Alright, and so that's pretty much it. So after that, you can probably do a big water change and then add the fish you want. You still want to add them slowly because you don't want to shock your system or anything like that, but then your tank should be cycled. Congratulations. And so I did mention there was another way to cycle your aquarium, and this is the hardy fish method. And this is when you're using hardy fish species such as zebrodanios or maybe guppies and maybe even a betta to cycle your aquarium. And this isn't the preferred method because you're using live fish to cycle your aquarium, and this actually causes them stress, harm, illness, maybe even can kill them. And so basically you're just going to do the same step but use live fish as your way to cycle the aquarium. What you want to do instead of trying to get high ammonia levels is you're going to try to do a lot of water changes to help mitigate the amount of ammonia in your fish aquarium. So you don't want to feed your fish a lot. You don't want to add a lot of fish in the beginning. And you want to keep your ammonia levels as low as possible because, again, ammonia is very toxic to your fish and you don't want to cause them any unneeded stress. I really don't recommend this method, but if you find yourself somehow having fish at home and don't have time to cycle, or maybe you were given fish and you're kind of put in the situation, I guess you're just going to have to go through this method. And again, what you want to do is try to ease your fish the best you can by making sure the ammonia levels, nitrates, nitrites, all that are as low as possible. So you're going to try to perform water changes, maybe even daily for long periods of time to make sure your tank is cycled. Alright guys, so I did say that there are some cheats you can use to speed up the cycling process. I really love to use live plants in all of my aquariums. Why, you might ask? Well, they look nice, for one thing, and two, they can help speed up the cycling in your aquariums. How do they do this? Well, they'll use the ammonia, nitrates, and nitrites as a food source. So if your tank is heavily planted with live plants, they'll help speed along your cycling process. Another method you can use to speed up cycling is a method called seeding, and that's when you get the media from a tank that's already been cycled, so either from a friend, another tank that you own already, and you take out some media and put it in your tank, your new tank. And so this kind of seeds your tank with the bacteria that's already needed. Last, like I was talking about earlier in the video, are those bacteria culture methods. Again, I'm not too familiar with these, but I guess these can help speed up your cycling methods. But I don't want to say it's an instant cycle because that's not going to happen usually. Alright guys, that pretty much should do it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to comment down below. I ask that you like and share this video to those who are new to fish keeping, and feel free to check the links below if you're needed to see any of the products that I recommended. All right, thanks. Bye.